Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagawan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Welcome all the viewers on this episode of His Story Through the Eyes of His Boys. And I have a great pleasure to continue our discussion and listening to the great saga of Divine from Brother N. Sudhindran. So let us start this evening's journey with our prayer and we take it forward from there. And I request all of you to please join me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram, and a hearty welcome to all of you on this episode of His Story. We had the great pleasure of listening to Brother Sudhindran for the last 2 weeks, and he has been graciously sharing with us the journey of the divine, which he was blessed to witness, experience, and learn at the lotus feet. He has given us great insight into various things of why certain things happen in Parthi, the insight into Ved, and so many beautiful anecdotes which have really helped us to relive those moments, to recreate divine in front of our eyes. And it's my honor and pleasure to have Brother Sudhindran back again with us. So, Brother Sudhindran, welcome to the evening, His Story Through the Eyes of His Boys. Sai Ram.
Sairam, brother. Thank you.
I don't need to reintroduce you, but just a recap. Brother Sudhindran not only studied in Bhagwan's institution, doing his graduation and MBA, but he also worked with Central Trust for almost 7-8 years and had a great privilege of experiencing Bhagwan's grace and proximity for these years. And whatever he has learned, a glimpse of it, he is graciously sharing with all of us. So, Brother Sudhindran, thank you for the 2 weeks and continuing the journey tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, last week we were talking about all your cultural events that we go through with Bhagwan, and we saw how he gave you opportunity to even ride his chariot. You were his charioteer. So that was a great pleasure. And actually, that event forces or prompts me to ask you a few things. Like how, if for devotees' understanding, how does Bhagwan, because that time the campuses were all doing separate work, and then we got together and the program happened. So if you can give us an understanding of how his involvement was in selecting the program, approving it, and how it does whole thing comes together. So if you can start from there and we'll take it forward.
Right. Thank you, brother. So, the students of Swami's education institutions, they keep looking forward to each of these occasions where they can work and offer something to Swami in gratitude for the love and affection that he showered in abundance to everybody. So, and last week, I had mentioned about the convocation drama, and apart from that, Jan 11 of every year, is a day which is very, very, very fondly recalled and remembered by students across batches. I mean, if we have to, if we were to conduct an interview or paranam just on the topic of sports and cultural meet, that itself would be phenomenal, phenomenal. And as and typical of Bhagwan, that each and everything that he used to undertake or allow it to happen in his presence, Swami, there was the mark and the seal of perfection in that. So right from the conception onwards of each of these items of sports and cultural activities to be presented to Bhagwan, right from that stage onwards, everything will be put forward to Bhagwan, and then Bhagwan would take so much time and also to take so much care to make sure that the students, you see, we are all like, in just out of in the teenage or just out of teenage. So it's like we are so enthused and excited to do something for Bhagwan. That's the, each and every person is like waiting when I can do something in front of Swami and make him happy. So that is the thing. But often that would, in our enthusiasm, many a time we would overstep boundaries of safety and so many other things, and that's where Bhagwan would intervene and say, no, don't do this. And sometimes he would just cancel a few events, though initially the students would be very disappointed that they have lost the opportunity. But of course later on, one would realize that there was some purpose behind why Swami did that. So in this context, I have a very memorable incident that I want to share with all of you.
Sure. Hmm.
So, if you recall, the in the part one, I had mentioned how one day in Vrindavan, Swami had come in December, and then Swami was upset with the boys. Then he just left in a huff, saying he is going to cancel the sports meet and all that. And then students prayed and prayed and prayed endlessly until finally Swami relented and accepted to have the sports meet that year, in the Jan 1999. So, I would like to continue from there. So, so that December 1998, when Swami he left, he was apparently he was very angry and upset with the boys, and he told that he's going to cancel the sports and cultural meet, the following Jan 11, 1999. And then he left. Then after all that prayer, finally we got message that Swami had permitted to conduct the sports and cultural meet, and then Brindavan boys were asked to come to Parthi for practice sessions. And then during those sessions, and Swami would invariably come many times to the ground to witness the individual practice sessions of each of the campuses: primary school, higher secondary school, and then all the three campuses, then four campuses of the institute. And Swami would take so much care and look at minute details and then advise the teachers and the students on how to conduct it.
So, in your
So
time, you're saying that every campus came to Parthi and performed, right? Their
right,
rehearsals.
right,
Okay.
absolutely.
Earlier times, Bhagwan used to go to each campuses and check it out.
Okay,
So he
okay,
would
okay,
drive. He'd go to Vrindavan, stay there, watch their program, then
okay.
go to Anantapur and watch sisters' program, then go to primary school and watch their program. So nobody else knew what is happening behind the scene.
Yeah,
So I guess by the time it came to your era, he
right,
had brought everybody together and then he would come and watch. Okay, carry on.
right,
Hmm.
yeah. And also he would be there for the combined practice session, especially for the march past and those
Yeah.
other things that all the campuses presented together. So that year in Jan 1999, leading up to the Jan 11th, Swami had come many times, and then he witnessed, and then everything went on very well. And we thought, okay, so all that tension is all like behind us, and now we can really focus and make a very good offering to Bhagwan. So that day, Jan 11th, 1999, that morning when Swami was coming uh, into Hillview Stadium in his silver chariot, it's a jeep fitted with a silver chariot chassis on the top, and he was coming in that, and he was blessing the huge crowds seated on either side of the on either side, and then he was blessing. And for whatever reason, the devotee, a very senior devotee of Bhagwan, who was driving the chariot, the silver chariot, the jeep that day, for I don't know what reason, he applied the brakes somewhat suddenly, and because of that impact, Swami fell on his back. Imagine, when everybody is looking, everybody's eyes, the thousands of pairs of eyes looking at Swami, and Swami is blessing, and suddenly, this mishap happens, and Swami falls on his back. But in less than 10 20 seconds, he's again gotten up, and then he's again, as usual, waving to all the devotees as if nothing happened at all. We were all concerned in the beginning, but then when we saw that Swami had immediately gotten up, and then he was continuing to bless all the devotees as if nothing happened. So then we thought, okay, fine, thankfully nothing seriously has gone wrong. And we were quite wrong. We realized it much later. So Swami then came on. Then everything that day went off very well, and for each and every campus presentation, Swami would walk down all the way from the stage, walk down to the ground, give a group photo to all, each and every campus, and again walk back to the stage, and be seated there. And but that year, rather unusually, Swami also kept going backstage a couple of times more than usual. But these things, this escaped our attention. So then the Jan 11th, we thought everything was fine, everything went off well, and we had all the students had presented their programs to Swami, and Swami had lovingly blessed everybody, and we were all in the seventh heaven, like totally happy with the whole thing. And on Jan 14th, 1999, during after the prize distribution ceremony on Makar Sankranti day, as always Swami does, then when Swami
14th.
got up to give the discourse, divine discourse, that time he mentioned something that really shook us. Swami mentioned that day on Jan 11th, when he was, when he fell on his back in that silver chariot on the jeep. He mentioned that he sustained very, very serious injury on his back. In Swami's words, I recall vividly, he mentioned the injury was so bad on the spine that almost like every second there used to be a shock kind of thing, that Swami's body used to experience because of that. It was so sad to hear that. Everybody in Kulwanthal broke down. We just could not imagine as to the pain that Swami's body would have been going through. Everybody was crying, and then Swami mentioned. He told, "See, in December last month, I told all of you that I want to cancel the sports meet because I saw that one of the boys who was to do a stunt on a moving truck, that boy was supposed to have fallen off the moving truck onto the ground, the hard road, tar road, and injured his spine so severely that he should have been paralyzed for his life. I saw that was supposed to happen, and in order to prevent that danger from happening, I enacted this drama of having to cancel the sports meet and all that, and I feigned anger and did all that. But then all of your students, you were also enthusiastic about it, and you still kept persisting and praying that I should allow the sports meet to happen. And your intention was to do all this to please Swami, and therefore it was my responsibility to make sure that all of you were safe. And therefore, that day when the boy was supposed to have fallen off the moving truck and sustained a severe spinal injury that would have paralyzed him for his life, I saw and I intervened and I took on that karma on this body. And that's why I fell on my back that day. And when he mentioned that, we realized how we were so foolish that we always, little and ignorant children that we were, we always kind of typical of children, we don't know the whole picture, and we keep persisting with our small, viewpoint and our desires. But as forgiving and as accommodating a parent, Swami accepted and then took on this thing on himself, on his body, and suffered. And then, when all of us prayed in front of everybody in Kulwanthal, Swami then rubbed his shoulders and hands and back and legs, and they told, "Now I'm all right." And then immediately everybody was, clapping, and they were like so thrilled. Because see, one very important thing is that Swami is nothing but selfless love. And even when something happens, when Swami takes on the karma of another person on his body, he will not cure himself. And because of that spontaneous prayer of thousands of students and devotees there in Saikulvanthal that day on Jan 14, 1999, Swami accepted kindly, and then he cured himself of that spinal injury. And then he told that that boy should have suffered for his entire life, but I took that karma on this physical body and suffered for a few days, and I saved that boy. And as typical of Swami, Swami never ever reveals who that beneficiary is, because he knows that people would be really wild for, and that person will be feeling so miserable for having put Swami through such kind of a physical discomfort. And therefore, till date, we don't know who that boy was, but all we know that Swami saved that boy that day and took that physical pain on his body, suffered through that, and saved that boy, and made sure as if everything went on so smoothly on the surface that we didn't realize that such a thing had happened at all. So that is Swami's love.
You're reminding me of an anecdote which happened in Darshan line. In our time, there was one boy who had an eye problem, and his eyes had become very big and red. It was almost oozing liquid there. I don't know, it may be pus or something like that. And he was holding it with his, handkerchief and crying. So it must have gone extreme for him. So he wrote a letter to Bhagawan, and he was holding that letter in the darshan. And I'm talking to you in 80s when there was a sand time. So Bhagawan would walk along the portico, lower portico on the sands. So while he was coming, he passed through that boy, So he stretched his arm for letter, Swami to accept it. Then Swami just stopped and turned towards him. You know how he abruptly stops and turns. And he would usually cross that letter like that and take.
Mhm.
But with him, he did it like this. So when he was holding the letter, he actually pressed his finger. And Swami, so letter in his hand, and Swami, instead of holding the letter, Swami pressed his fingers. And he held it too tight. And as an observer, if you look from outside, you feel like, he's trying to hold Swami and Swami is trying to escape. But it was reverse actually. And he's trying to tell Swami, and he's trying to pull, but Swami is smiling and he's not leaving and releasing his finger. And this drama lasted for a couple of minutes. And then slowly Swami smiled. There was some whisper conversation, and Bhagwan left. So people were looking at it, what happened? And when Swami left, this boy just broke down. He was crying. And later on, we saw that his eyes had cured completely.
Oh.
And what had happened was when Swami held his finger and he was, pressing it hard. Actually, he was releasing. Why? Because the boy suddenly realized that Swami's eyes were turning red,
Oh.
and he felt bad that okay, I have prayed to Swami to cure me, but now he's suffering, not me, and that guilt made him pull his hand, but he didn't, and Swami didn't let him. And then ultimately, Bhagwan made few quiet statement to him. He said, later on, he said, Swami, the poor fellow would have lost his eyesight for life. For me, it is few minutes of pain, and he left. And you have given me a perspective, so then just to think about it, that on Avatar, if a lifetime of blindness, as an equation, mathematical equation, a lifetime of blindness equivalent to 1 minute of suffering. So can you imagine when he had fractures, when he fell in the sports day?
True.
It was not, I think, I personally don't think that it was only one boy who was going to lose something. I don't know how much calamity or how much of mess he has
Absolutely.
taken on himself and
Absolutely.
suffered for us. Hmm?
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very true. See, ultimately, the law of karma is so very inescapable that somebody has to suffer that karma. And see, many a time you may have observed that many holy people, when people go to take their namaskar, they just shoo away saying, no, 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 don't touch. See, the point is, when we take namaskar or when we touch such holy personages, they take on our karma. And that's why Swami is told Darshanam Papanashanam, Sambhashanam Sankatanashanam. So the point is, when Swami says that, and you can imagine for
Especially
decades
Padma
and
Namaskar.
decades, Padma Namaskar, he's given blessed millions and millions of students and devotees every day, day in, day out with Namaskar and then interview and darshan and whatnot. We just really can't comprehend the huge quantum, almost at cosmic level, that Bhagwan had taken on himself, that karma of so many millions of people, and suffered so silently and so selflessly for his creation. I mean, this saga is, we really we don't even know it fully to even speak about it. It is so very out of our comprehension that we can only just leave it to imagination, and see how when Swami suffered so many mishaps on his physical body, so many fractures and so many other things, discomfort for his body. Behind all that, he's been saving millions and millions of people and taking on their karma on his physical body, and silently and selflessly suffering. We just can't imagine. Really, really. No words to say.
So then I think it became a little serious. So I have a video here,
Mhm.
which I believe shows that, you know, the chariot, but may not be of
Okay.
the same year. Can you see that?
Yeah, I think it's still loading. Yeah. So this is not 99. This is Jan 2000, when Swami had blessed me with that opportunity of driving his horse drawn chariot. This
Okay.
is in Jan 2000, when Swami had blessed me with the great fortune of being his charioteer on the on that horse drawn chariot.
But
I
here is
think.
that chariot, right?
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, yeah. I think this must be that. This must be
That is
that
a motorcade.
1999.
That is a motor one. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
modified later on and he came as sitting. In that, he was
Mm-hmm.
standing.
Right, right. Okay, yeah, yeah. This is not that Jan 2000. This must be
Yeah. So
uh,
this one was later on when it was
mm,
modified to make him sit.
fit.
Initially,
Right,
it was standing.
standing. Right,
Yeah. In
correct, correct,
standing,
brother.
he fell.
That's right. That's right.
And then I guess he comes here and then he gets onto the chariot.
Horse-drawn chariot. Yes, yes, yeah. This is Jan 2000, Jan 11 2000. That's right, brother.
That's our beloved Sai Gita.
We've been blessed to see so many such legends and great devotees of Swami, really, right from Sagita onwards to so many legends whose lives have been so nicely interwoven with Bhagwan's mission and life. Yeah, this is Jan 2011, brother. Sorry, Jan 11th, 2000. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
So cute.
All this for what? I mean, he needs nothing. He needs nothing. All this so that, in each and everything that he does, he gives so many opportunities for his students and devotees, for devotees to see Swami coming in a very, very different setting, and for students like us to relish this experience and memory for our entire life, for entire life.
Beautiful. These are, I would say, great memories, sweet memories of Bhagwan to remember and cherish. How
Absolutely.
he really looks after everybody in that manner, right? So beautiful.
See, the point is, Swami's love is so vast. Swami would even inquire about the horses. Can you imagine those horses that were used, that were drawing the chariot in which Swami came? So when I used to go and be with Swami after the practice sessions, and when Swami used to converse, he used to inquire about the horses. How are the horses? What are their names? What are they being fed every day? Can you just imagine that? Because when there are thousands and thousands of devotees and students and organizations, hospitals, schools, colleges, so many things that Swami has to look after physically, still Swami's attention never escapes even these, this small things, these horses that were supposed to,
They had
bring
come from
Swami.
the army side, right? Or
That's right, brother. That's
did
right.
they have their name? Do you know? Remember the names of the horses?
Yeah.
I'm
Halaku,
curious.
Shan, I can't forget them. So I think two of them. I think Halaku, Shan, Hitler, and there is one more. I am not able to recall. These were the names.
Halakush, Shan, and Hitler.
Yeah.
What a naming ceremony it is. Very nice.
So that
But
is
it's very
Swami's
interesting
love.
that Swami would ask for a name of the horse.
And what
So
are they being
beautiful.
fed? Where are they being housed? Who's looking after them? Are they comfortable? Such depths, each and every minute detail Swami used to inquire. Really, really. Uh,
Thanks. It's a very beautiful thought, that, my God. Yeah. No, it'll actually escape so many of our even thought that to inquire about an horses or animals who are coming for the procession. Beautiful.
that's
Okay,
Swami's
brother.
love.
Let me take you to another thought of yours. Bhagwan's manifestations and all that, they lead us to a very good memories and lessons. And I know Bhagwan had given you once a watch, and that's because so many watches he has given in our lifetime, and so many varieties that boys had started coining them. Okay, it's a new model, it's a
Right,
2005 model, because every time he would bring out some beautiful models which would
right,
not be in the market at all. So,
right.
and I'm sure there's a learning in that. So, what is your
True,
story about your watch?
true. It's a very, very important thing that how Swami never loses an opportunity to drive home lessons to his students and to everybody. And it was, yeah, this is the watch that Bhagwan had materialized and gifted me in March 1999 in Trayi. And then he gave this watch and then told me, what does watch stand for? So, so then, we are trained to say, Swami, watch, WATCH, watch your words, actions, thoughts, heart, and, character and heart. So then Swami told, yes, do that. So then Swami blessed this. And then, see, giving this and telling this is one. This is just the theoretical aspect of it. But then Swami actually demonstrates and then makes sure that we learn that lesson in our life and apply it. See, to teach is, it's more of theoretical thing, and that is one level of education that Swami gives us. But then, when and through many experiences, Swami grants us that experience, and how we are able to digest that concept of the teaching and the principle into our lives, into our life. So that is something very unique. So in this context, I remember how after this incident, how Swami taught me physically taught me to watch my words, action, thought, character, and heart. For example, those days I was blessed with the opportunity of literally virtually living with Swami in Trai, and in Puttaparthi also I used to go to Punachandra and have prasadam in Swami's presence. and used to be there doing Path Seva. So during those times, Swami used to ask what happened today, and he used to generally inquire. And when I used to say something, then Swami asked, "What did you say?" And then what did the other person say? And then what was the reply? So this used to go on. And then even a few times when parents used to come and I used to go meet them. Swami used to ask this. Initially, I found it rather strange because I thought, see, Swami is omniscient, he is omnipresent, he knows each and every word and thought that passes through us. So why is Swami asking this? Obviously, it is not that Swami does not know or he wants to know through us. But then, very often I realized initially that when Swami used to ask something, what did you say? I used to go blank because I never remembered what I spoke. Because many a time we speak without being conscious of our words, without even we were so casual. We are so casual about it that we don't realize we are not watching our words. And that's what Swami says when he says watch. That watching our words, we should. If had I watched my words, had I spoken every word consciously, and had I spoken judiciously, then I would have, without fail, I would have recollected every word that I spoke. So initially, I didn't have that learning. And when Swami used to ask, I used to like, oh God, what did I say? I used to like struggle to recall in Swami's presence. Swami is waiting. So I used to find it difficult. Then I realized that Swami wants me to watch my every word that I utter, so that I speak only what is exactly necessary, not a word more. I don't waste my energy, but speak judiciously, use my words judiciously, and I don't speak a lie, I don't exaggerate, I don't do anything unwanted that the Swami doesn't like. So that was a training that Swami used to ensure in this way. That see, when Swami says watch your word, we don't really understand how to apply it. But when Swami puts us through this kind of a rigor, then we wake up, and then every word that we speak, we are conscious, and we weigh every word that we speak to make sure that we don't speak one extra word, one lie, one unwanted unnecessary word. So this was the lesson that Swami taught me, how to watch my word. So this is a very very
You're
great
given a
learning
very
experience.
beautiful perspective. You watch your words. Wow. Hmm. Very nice. I don't know. I'm just trying to digest it to myself. I'm just trying to internalize it. It's fantastic to think that, how he conveys this message that we have to be careful about what we are using words. But it's fantastic. But Sudhindran, when I look at Swami, as you said, he is consciously making us to think whether we are using our words or action or whatever. Uh, there is an element of perception value
Hmm.
that Swami, as you said, Swami knows everything about us. He knows our filth also. He knows about good also. But at the
Absolutely.
same time, he plays along.
Hmm.
So, in spirituality, people would say that it's being hypocrite to pretend.
Hmm.
Whereas God gives in spiritual life, pretension also has a value. If you
True.
pretend to be good, you have a value for it, right? So,
True.
how do you understand? How do you see Swami balancing perception versus reality?
Hmm. It's a very important question. In fact, in this context, I recall the teachings of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa when he says, in the spiritual path, first we pretend, then we tend, and then we end in that result. So, this is how great spiritual masters guided their devotees and the disciples. So, with Swami, it was no different. And talking about actions, watching our actions, Swami used to be very, very particular of how we moved in front of everybody. See, always Swami used to say, let me give you this example. It was during those years, I think 99, when we were all in Puttaparthi, Prashant Nilayam, and one day an MP, a member of parliament, had come to have Swami's darshan. She was a lady, and then the VIP paraphernalia and all that, she came. Then She was seated there in the ladies' side near the interview room door, and then she was ushered in. But then before that, I observed that Swami had called, two, three senior students to be in the interview room, and then Swami sent word for that lady MP to come inside for interview. This I found it to be rather strange because Swami respects privacy of people, and more so for these VVIPs. And generally, Swami would call the VVIPs for an individual one-on-one interview. That's how it used to be. But that year, Swami, there were a few students already inside the interview room, and then Swami called this lady MP for an interview. And after at the end of it, then. The interview got over. Swami then came outside and then blessed her and then sent her off. And then after that, Swami again went into the interview room. Those boys were still there inside. And then I had the opportunity of going into the interview room then. And then Swami was seated on the throne, and then he said, "See, I could have called that lady MP for a one-on-one interview, like how I do for all the other VVIPs, but I didn't because I'm wearing this ochre robe. And as I need to give respect to this ochre robe of sannyasi, and I need to play by the rules of a sannyasi. And though I could have still, I'm beyond all this, and I could have still called her, but yet I chose not to call her personally, give her an individual interview inside, so that it is not just important to be good, but it's equally important to appear to be good. This is what Swami mentioned the other day. Such a very powerful lesson. See, Swami is just beyond all this. Swami himself told that when he is in the company of men, he is a man. When he is in the company of ladies, he is a lady, he is a woman. In the company of children, he is as mirthful as a child. And when he is alone, he is God. That, notwithstanding that day Swami drove home such an important lesson that not for him did he do that, but for setting an example to everybody and even to other sannyasis in the world to play by the role that they have chosen in their life. Swami had chosen to wear the ochre robe, and therefore he decided to play by that rule. And he did not, and as the rule demands that he should not converse in privacy with a lady, he did not call that lady MP for an interview one on one, but he called other students to be inside, and in the presence of those students he granted interview to that lady. Can you imagine how Swami physically demonstrates? The Swami used to mention that he is like a physical trainer, instructor. No, he does and then shows us how to do. And that's why Swami says, "My life is my message." These small experiences and lessons are a testimony to that. How Swami lives his life, and how Swami makes us aware of how one should watch one's actions, and how it is important to be good and equally important to appear to be good. And that's why Swami used to say that though one a brother and sister, they are brothers and sisters, they are siblings, but in public he always mentioned that they should not hold each other's hands and move around the place, because they know, and their parents know, that they are siblings, they are brother and sister, but other people may not know that. So therefore it is equally important to appear to be good. So as Swami used to say, Naitika, Bhautika, Adhyatmika. So at all levels one should strive to achieve goodness and perfection. This was the lesson that Swami taught as to how to watch one's actions.
It's beautiful, eh? It's like, you get always this feeling of gratitude and awe when you think about Bhagawan, that how he has patiently and painstakingly taught every lesson so
Absolutely.
beautifully.
Absolutely.
But in all of that, he's very focused. He's very focused towards the goal of life, which everybody must follow and achieve. And he does not tolerate deviations. And if, so what do you think about that?
So very true. Swami always used to always used to emphasize how one must always be focused on one's the jivana paramavadhi, the ultimate destination that one has to achieve, that is union with God. And in that process, nothing is unimportant or nothing is insignificant. Small things have their own relevance and significance in the spiritual life. There's nothing casual about one's actions or words or thoughts and character. And actually the character is built brick by brick, every moment and every day. Let me share one very interesting experience that I had. This was in Prashant Nilayam. I think it was probably during Swami's birthday celebrations leading up to that, or sports meet or Guru Purnima. I don't recall the exact occasion, but that day Swami decided, he had blessed all the men students of his institutions with white and white safari cloth. He personally, we have all seen how he used to walk, across lines, up down, and physically give each and every student that safari cloth. And I personally remember how I used to carry that, and all our students, all of us in still yet to even cross 20, we used to be like so tired, we used to be sweating, but Swami used to be like so cool, and he used to just go on, and as if he could do that for the next 2 3 hours like that. So you must be recalling that. So he had distributed clothes to all the men students, and then he decided to distribute saris to the women students of his education institution. And that day he had, during darshan time, he had sent a few of his students to go into the storeroom and get a few saris. So we all went there, and even as we were picking it up and then totaling and getting it ready to get it out, Swami himself came inside the storeroom. And then Swami, then there were a few elders there. They showed two samples of saris, two different colors. And then they asked Swami, we have enough number of each of these sari colors, whichever Swami chooses, and we will get that outside so that Swami can distribute it, hand it out to all the lady students of his institutions. And then Swami, he was there, and Swami had decided to teach me a very important lesson then. So I was also next to Swami. So when that person asked Swami, he turned to me and asked, "Which sari is good?" He asked me. So I
A
was
dangerous question.
very. I didn't realize that I was very neatly being led into a trap. I didn't realize that then. So then I told Swami, anything that you give, that people receive from your hands, they will value it for life, for the entire life. Swami, it is your prasadam. No, all that is fine. Chaluni Vedantam and all that. You tell me which sari is good. Second time, I told Swami, whatever you give, both are very good, Swami, and whatever you give, they will take it with so much of joy and gratitude. No. You tell me which sarees, which color looks better, which color will be more suitable, which looks more presentable, which is very nice and beautiful and all that. See, frankly, I didn't want to, but then I thought I will be displeasing Swami if I don't oblige. So then rather foolishly and foolhardily, what I did, I used my discretion and I told Swami, this color will look good. That's it. I had fallen into the trap. In spite of having resisted that so many times, finally I just fell into the trap straight. And then, so you know how to choose saris for ladies. Oh, very interesting. Where did you learn that? How did you learn that? All that barrage of questions. I was sweating like really, I didn't know what to answer. I was like, Swami, please forgive me, Swami, Swami, please forgive me. I was like praying in my mind, and then Swami gave that deep look, right, looking at my eyes, and then he told, "Huh, paraledu, you have sisters, so you might have chosen saris for them. You may be familiar with that.
Ah,
That's all right." So he put me in that situation, and then also bailed me out very neatly, and told, "Yeah, you have sisters at home, so you may have probably chosen saris for them, and let me go." But then he drove home that very important lesson. See, in the Bharatiya culture, one is there's the Varnashrama dharma. So ashrama, so the first 25 years, one is in the Brahmacharya stage, and then one is in the Grihastha stage, and then Vanapastha and Sannyasa. And therefore, one is supposed to conduct oneself as befitting that stage in life. So therefore, as brahmacharis, as students, we are supposed to be focused on studies and Swami, nothing else, nothing else. But then, so obviously, I had no business to even apply my mind, to apply my discretion to see which color sari will be better and will suit them better. Because I'm a brahmachari, and I'm not supposed to even apply my thought and mind on that because it is out of its ultra virus, my stage in life. But so Swami, he forced me into that, and I relented, and I thought I should oblige Swami, and I fell into the trap that day. And then he gave me that lesson that this is not your business. In spite of how many ever times I may ask, or whatever it is, under whatever circumstances and under whatever pressure, mental pressure that you may be, never deviate from your path in life. If you are a brahmachari, stick to that. Don't deviate even an inch, because you start with deviating just an inch, and then slowly that becomes feet, and then you go way off the path. So it is important not to deviate even a single centimeter from the path that God has ordained for us, as per that ashrama that we are going through in life. And therefore, Swami, drove home the point that I should watch my character, thoughts and character. I am not supposed to even think about that. It is not my business. So that's how Swami, drove home that very important lesson in spirituality, that always be focused on your goals, that all your thoughts be always, aimed at the ultimate goal, and follow the dharma that you're supposed to follow. So this is fun experience, though it is kind of humorous now. I can when I relive that that experience. Oh my God, I start sweating all over again.
But Sundar, you have raised a very beautiful point, to be focused on your goals. But from a normal perspective, I'm just trying to voice suggestion from others that how do you identify your priority in life? As you said, no, be focused on the priority. See, that era, that environment, which with Bhagwan, when you are, I would say comparatively it is easy because it's like a big thing in front of you. That is my goal. So
Right.
there is no kind of second thought about it. But
Absolutely.
in an environment which is different, let
Hmm.
me say outside
Hmm.
Bhagwan, when children are growing, youth is growing, and you have mentioned it that brahmacharya means that you have very beautifully explained. How would you suggest these youths to know their priority, and how do you put your heart to that goal? How do I don't know how else to say that. So just try to help and see if you can.
Very true. That's a very, very, very important aspect that each and every one of us should know, because on the spiritual path there are a lot of distractions, and each and every moment is a challenge to make sure that we don't lose our focus on the ultimate goal, that is Bhagwan. And like you mentioned, that time we had the benefit of Bhagwan's physical presence, and that was a different setting. And now, in the absence of his beautiful physical form, it is even more relevant and significant to explore how to keep our focus unwavering. So I have a very, very nice experience to share with all of you in this regard. It was again March 1999, and Swami was in Vrindavan. And like every the end semester for the event semester, the end semester exams generally happen during March, and by those days, by March 31st, the last exam would conclude, and then the summer holidays would start. And that time in March, Swami was in Vrindavan, and our end semester exams, the final exams, were going on. So I had that time I had the fortune of being standing every day for darshan in Trai Brindavan. And generally during exams, as students, wherever we go, be it darshan, wherever, until Swami comes, all of us are glued to the book, and we're trying to keep the last ditch effort at the exams, studying for the exams. So that's how it is. And so that thing was still in my mind, and I was very, very anxious that I should, because more so that Swami was giving me so much attention. I had that internal pressure and that anxiety that I should do well and I should please Swami, because Swami, if you don't get good marks, marks and remarks both are important for Swami. And therefore I was very anxious that I should do well in the exams and I should please Swami. And I was so anxious to a fault that those days when I was standing in Trai and when Swami used to come for darshan, though I used to be physically looking at Swami and I used to be there physically present looking at Swami and folding my hands, unconsciously my mind used to go back to the exam for that day, portions to be covered and I should do well and all that thing happening in the background. So this went on for 1 or 2 days. And then one day, when Swami was coming that day for darshan, that morning, Swami looked at me and told, uh, "You're such a fool that when I'm here right in front of you, you're physically here, but your mind is in the examination hall." Swami mentioned that. He knows our thoughts, he knows our feelings. So that I was taken aback because that was the truth. I had to face it. That though I was there physically in Trai Brindavan and my eyes were seeing Swami in front of me walking so gracefully, my mind was caught up with that anxiety of examination hall. Oh, have I covered this part of the syllabus? Did I study that? Oh, what should I study next? What will come? And that was going on in my back in the background in my mind. And I was and it is such a sacrilege that when the Lord of the universe is there right in front giving darshan, and I had the opportunity of standing there in Trai Brindavan having his darshan, my mind was there in the examination hall. And that's when I woke up to this, saying that, as Swami says, heart is a single seater sofa, and it should always and at all times be dedicated and reserved only for Bhagwan and nobody else. So, though yes, exams are part of students' life, yes, and one needs to take it with the due importance and apply effort and study well. Yes, but ultimately Bhagwan comes first. And as a matter of fact, if we pray, and all students have gone through that, how in the exam times, how we when it's like we are in the hopeless state, we pray to Bhagwan, and Swami makes sure that we sail through very smoothly, and we get very good grades. So it is important, yes, to have that self effort and to study well and do that. But it is equally, or if not more important, to never lose focus on Bhagwan under whatever circumstances, because Bhagwan should always have the first priority in our lives, and he is the one who should always be seated in our the sofa of our heart. Rest everything comes after that. So that is a very, very important lesson that Bhagwan drove home that day for me when he mentioned that, when he says watch your heart, I felt this is what he means. You make sure you watch your heart every moment and make sure that always Swami is seated there firmly, and that place is reserved for only him and nobody else. So watch your heart to make sure Swami is always there and you're always focused on Swami. Yet we can always go about our life doing everything that we're supposed to do as we're hitting that stage of life. So this is a very important lesson that as a part of the Watch series of lessons that Bhagwan drove home. Such very, very, very important lessons in life that nobody else can teach
You know,
in
you're
manner.
reminding me of so many beautiful days of examination pressure for us. And a similar thing happened to us. You know, we were all studying in the portico, and Bhagwan, those time bhajan used to be at 11 o'clock. And darshan
Okay.
was in the morning, 6:30, quarter to 7. Swami would come out,
Okay.
and he would say by 7:10 he would go inside with group, and he would take
Okay.
a large group with him, so he can
Mm.
spend a good hour and two there. So we knew that he's in. We have to study. So as soon as the door will close, we'll start studying. That's all it is. Very normal. And one day he just, one boy was sitting in the front row. He was looking down and reading. So obviously, when you get so engrossed, you don't remember what's happening around you. And when the door opened and when Bhagawan came out, he didn't realize it.
Oh my
And
God.
nobody had time to even poke him and tell Bhagawan is out in front. And Swami also opened and came directly in front of him.
Oh,
He
okay.
didn't. He will go usually in the front and stand there till the people. No, he just came straight and stood in front of him. So then he sees a red robe in front, and that
Oh,
shook him. And he looked up. He said, "Oh God, Swami here." So he just closed the book and he looked up. And Swami, he gave a very mischievous smile at him and he said, "Ain't Ra, why this struggle?"
mm,
And that was a very strange question for all of us because why is he asking that? Is
mm,
how much you study? And he seriously asked question, how many hours do you all study? So some boys responded, Swami, we normally study around 8 hours and then class and evening 1 hour. So 10 hours. During examinations, it goes little more. It's like that. And Swami said, all that you study to get one paper, to pass one examination of a subject. Can
correct.
you imagine how much of struggle you have to do to pass my exam?
Absolutely.
So that was like
Absolutely.
a killer for us. I said, okay, thank you very much. And then he twisted it very beautifully. He said, "Itna struggle kyun karta? Why are you struggling so much?"
Mm,
So that answer nobody had, and he said, "ये सब करता मेरे को पाने के लिए ना? To come to me, you are struggling, right? All this effort is to reach God, and I'm already
absolutely.
here. Then why struggle?"
Exactly.
And he said, and he chuckled like that, as a mischief, and he went off. And I think it left us in daze. What exactly he conveyed is superb.
Yeah,
All the
he
struggle
delivered his
for us
lesson.
life, he led so beautifully.
True. Very true, brother.
I'm sorry, it's your forum, and I got triggered, because
No,
memories
no,
are.
it's very relevant and it just reinforces that lesson of Swami. And it's the
Yeah,
Swami's like syllabus is set. It's the same. It's been the same for years and yugas and
yes,
yugas.
yes.
He taught the same lessons to Arjuna in Kurukshetra, and he taught the same thing in Prashant Nilayam, Vrindavan or Kodaikanal. And his syllabus is set. We are the ones who are looking at it afresh for the first time, but that's how
He
he's
gets a
been.
new crop of students every time, and that too very
Right.
dull, duller and duller. Let me show you some pictures, and maybe that will trigger some memories for you.
Mhm.
Okay, and if you think of any story or anything of that, please keep telling us. And there are lovely pictures of yours with Bhagwan. So where was this?
This was in Saishwati, Kodaikanal,
This is
1999.
Kodai.
Yeah,
Okay.
Swami had so lovingly, kindly granted us individual photographs with him.
I think he used to do that very often, right? He would all the members would get a chance like that.
True, true, true. And even in those sessions, I remember, I think when you must be aware of it, it happened, I think, with our seniors, how Swami, even in this photo session, Swami drove home the point that you students keep coming and going, Jagat, but I am the permanent one who's always
I'm the
there.
permanent one.
Each and
Yes.
every moment, occasion, he uses it to, drive home very important lessons in our life.
Said, see, you are coming and going. Change. I am the constant.
Absolutely.
This is interview room. Parthi.
Right, Prashant, right,
Yeah, from the
right,
chair we can make out, right?
right, brother. I don't know how many lives would have got changed in that room. Just unimaginable, just unimaginable.
This is Harshi, right?
No, this is also Sai Shruti Kodaikanal. This was
Oh,
in
really? Okay.
2007. 2007 when Swami had taken us. Swami, this is on the terrace on the first floor of Sai Shruti.
Hmm.
You can see the lake in the background, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Now I notice. Yeah, notice. If you remember any memories, please feel free to share.
Yes, brother. This was
This
with the
is
my fellow brothers from the Central Trust, all the Mandir boys. Swami had called us in
aha.
2003 summer when Bhagwan was in Vrindavan. We had come together as a group, and then Swami called us for an interview. All the Mandir boys, as in all the students who used to work in Swami's institutions in Prashant Nilayam. So he
I
had
think
called
it's
us.
you call it Sannidhi, right? Sannidhi, no, what is
Yeah,
it?
Sai Sanithi group. Yes, that was the
Yeah.
group that, yeah,
But very
Swami had.
dedicated team, eh? This is very
Oh,
dedicated team. All of them
absolutely.
are amazing boys.
Absolutely. Their focus after decades and decades is still very intact. And every day they spend in Swami's service. Really, hats off to them. This is
This is
in
a
the Trai
lovely.
lawns. This is in the Trai lawns. And Swami, after a program, Swami decided to spend some time outside in the Trai lawns. And all of us, it was during the summer holidays, and all of us immediately, surrounded Swami and we sat there. So that session happened outside on the lawns that day. Very
Oh,
nice
beautiful.
experiences.
These are good
Swami's,
memories to remember,
yeah,
how we can.
absolutely. This was during the thing, one of the Vedam. I think Swami was giving some instructions regarding what is to be done
Learn for
related
that.
to Vedam. Yeah, yeah. This was the inner interview room, actually, Swami's dining hall in the Kulwant hall there. See, Swami
Ah,
physically, you see, it's not, I mean, not even basic level of comfort Swami had, in his physical, his residence that he spent almost 50 years in this Mandir, Prashantale Mandir. It is such a very frugal, literally, physically, it's such, nobody else can do that. And being Bhagwan himself, when he had everything under his command, and just one word or one glimpse, and devotees would come rushing to offer whatever they can to in order to please Swami. But Swami just, he lived a life. He
he lived
didn't
a
just
very simple
bother.
life.
He lived really. When he
Very
says his
simple
life
life.
is message, he meant that. This is again in Sai Shruti. This is in the hilltop bungalow in Kodaikanal, when Swami had taken all of us in 1999.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
he
you for
never
sharing.
tires. He never
Hmm.
tires giving students opportunities. He just never tires. Batches after
Sudhindran,
batches.
I'm now curious to take you to a different topic
Yes, brother.
because we understood that you had come to Bhagwan for education purposes. The whole Parthi was education, and your
True.
parents also sent you only to get education.
True.
And then slowly, slowly, as you mentioned, they got their first interview and things started rolling from there. So when do you think, how was your parents by the time all this happened? How did their transformation or further journey happen with them? Any major event with their parents you would like to share?
Yes. See, they say adversities are God's opportunities to enter one's life. And that's how it happened in the case of my parents. So let me narrate this experience, very, very personal, that I hold very dear to my heart. It was it was in the year 2000 when I was still in Vrindavan doing my third year BCom. Excuse me. And it was in the month of February, Jan and February, and I got a call from my father in Chennai saying that he had undergone a medical test, and then the doctors mentioned that there was a block in his heart and that he has to undergo bypass surgery. So he mentioned that to me over phone. So then he mentioned that he is looking, for a good hospital to get this done. So then I suggested that, yeah, you can get it done in any hospital of your choice. But before even getting admitted to the hospital, just go to Prashant Nilayam and seek Swami's blessings, because it's a very major surgery, heart surgery. It's very important. So it's very critical. So go to Prashant Nilayam, seek Swami's blessings, because I was still in Vrindavan. Go seek Swami's blessings, and then go ahead and get yourself admitted and so on. So then he accepted readily, and then I also the very same day I wrote a letter to Swami physically and sent it by courier to Swami, and the very next day, as soon as that courier physically reached Swami's hands, Swami sent word for me to come from Vrindavan to Parthi. I was still studying. It was middle of the academic year, and but then Swami instructed, and then therefore a teacher accompanied me, and we came to Vrindavan in a taxi. And just then, my father also had come from Chennai to Prashantalayam to seek Swami's blessings. And even before I could come, the previous day, Swami had seen my father in the darshan line. He looked at him, he blessed him profusely and told, "Yeah, I know, heart surgery. Don't worry. You go to our super specialty hospital here in Puttaparthi and get yourself tested, and then come back and let me know what the doctors say." And then in the darshan line itself, he called one of the doctors who had come for darshan from the super specialty hospital, and then he told that, "So this person will be coming today to hospital for checkup. Make sure that you do a thorough checkup, and then let me know what the problem is." So then my father went there, and then they did all the tests, and then it was and the doctors mentioned that yes, there is a major blockage in the heart, in the arteries in the heart, and then he has to undergo bypass surgery. So this was also communicated physically to Swami. And then Swami then permitted, saying, "Why do you look elsewhere? You can get admitted in our own hospital. Why do you want to go back to Chennai and look for hospitals?" So kindly Swami then sent and made arrangements for my dad to actually go and get himself admitted in the hospital. And then I landed, and then so my dad was already in the ward, pre-operative ward in the super specialty hospital. And when I went that day, Swami immediately called me and told, "Don't worry, I will take care. He will be all right. He has to undergo heart surgery, but we'll get it done in super specialty hospital. Everything will be all right. Don't worry." He mentioned that, so comforted me so much. And then that day, after the morning bhajans and arti, when everybody had dispersed, Swami then came out, rather unusually out of his usual routine. He asked for the car, and then he called me, and he took me personally with him in the car, and he went to the super specialty hospital, went directly to the preoperative ward, where my dad was there. He went there, he blessed him, and he materialized Vibhuti, gave it to him, and gave so much assurance and comfort, just unimaginable. Just can't describe that in words. See, I realized that yes, medical technology, qualified medical professionals, the right ambience, skills, all that is required. Yes, it's very, very important. You can't compromise on that. But beyond all that, one very, very important factor that helps in quick recovery and curing is that confidence level of the patient. So that's what Swami did. Swami boosted the confidence and the morale of my dad that day. And after that, he was like, actually, that whole thing where the whole seriousness just flew away. It was as if Swami was like giving him a one-on-one interview in Prashantale Mandir. That was how it was. The whole setting changed. There was no more tens and hospital surgery, all that, nothing. He was just basking in Swami's love and that assurance and comfort that Swami had given. And not just that, the next day when the operation was scheduled for, that day after the darshan and bhajans and all that, Swami was in Purnachandra. And then as I used to do those days, I went to Purnachandra that day to have lunch in Swami's presence. And after lunch that day, Swami waited. He usually has he spends some time after that, he going through letters, and then he retires up, gets ready, and then comes back for the evening darshan. But that day, he stayed put downstairs in Purnachandra, because that time the operation was happening in my dad's operation was happening in the super specialty hospital. And for the next almost 3 or 4 hours, Swami was there downstairs, and every half an hour he would ask one of the very senior functionaries, Chiranjiro Garu or Chakravarti Garu, who used to be there, to call up the hospital doctor and find out how the operation was progressing. Every 20 minutes, half an hour, Swami would do that, and then the update would come that operation is still going on. It's kind of complicated, a lot of blockages, and so on. And then he would look at me, no, no, don't worry, everything will be all right. Your father will be all well. Don't worry. Every and almost it was a complicated surgery. It went on for more than 2-3 hours, and finally, then the word came from hospital that the operation has been completed successfully. And then Swami got up from the chair, and then he looked at me and told, see, operation successful, your dad is doing fine, nothing to worry about. And then he told me, see, your mother is waiting. Go and tell your mother immediately that the operation was successful. She'll feel very happy. And then he mentioned, and also mentioned to your mother that Bhagwan is 1,000 times more happier than she is. So that was the punch that Swami gave. Truly, see, this
So sweet.
relationship of father, mother, son, daughter, husband, wife is all that just for this one lifetime. But Bhagwan has been our divine father and mother for ages, births after births after births. And how much more will he be loving us? And when we feel happy that father or mother or husband is recovered, the operation went off well, when we feel happy, imagine the love of 10,000 mothers. How much more Swami would be feeling happier that for that particular individual. That was a
Beautiful.
very big eye opener for me.
We have a video of your dad in the hospital, so I think we can check it out. That
Yeah, that's it. That's my father, and Swami is seated there next to him. So loving, so very loving
that's your
and
dad, right? Yeah.
compassionate. Yeah, that's the one. He materialized Vibhuti and gave it to him, and then comforted him, then consulted the doctors as to what was the procedure to be done, instructed them, do this, do that, what procedure, what medicines, how much time. Very loving. I mean, he doesn't have to do it. The hospital doctors are good, the system is good, they will take care of the patient. But still, he felt it important to give that kind of comfort and attention on my father and on our family at that critical juncture in our lives, and fill us with so much love and so much of his divine assurance. There's no looking back after that. He spent a good 20 minutes to half an hour there, and see, there he is materializing Vibhuti. Then he gave it to my dad, yeah, and giving the uh, kerchief for Swami. So very loving. I mean, there are 10,000 devotees or more waiting for us just the darshan. And who are we? Are we VVIPs? Are we millionaires? Are we MP, Prime Minister, President? No, we just ordinary folks. But each and every one matters for the Divine Parent. Every child matters for the Divine Parent. That's his love. And he puts that vibhuti in my dad's pocket. So loving, so loving.
So very typical of Swami, to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So when he's giving us that
That
kind
is
of
Villoti.
great boon, he does it with so much, so casual. Actually, it's such a great boon. We would have spent a few lakhs there in Chennai in some of the hospitals, still not knowing whether the surgery went off well or not. But then Swami gave that kind of an assurance, and then he did it all as a matter of a duty. Like, oh, this is how I should be doing. With that kind of a ease and spontaneity, Swami did that. Really, really. Our family will be ever grateful to Bhagwan for this blessing that he has given to all of us.
That was Brother HSD Srinivas,
Right.
driving
Yeah.
Swami's car. So nice it is. Thanks for sharing these, wonderful moments of Lord, because there's not only, I know it's emotional for you, but there's such a insight into how Bhagwan, when he does something for somebody, he goes all out.
He goes all
That's
out. Exactly.
he goes all out. So there is no stopping him after that, and he just gives, gives. It's
Absolutely.
just fantastic. So, brother, I'm now getting tempted to ask you certain question. Uh, You had, of course, you came in a blank slate, but when you came, you had a blessing to see Bhagwan in his physical vigor. He was walking around, he was perfectly fine. You have seen Bhagwan from that state to a very physically sick state. You have seen him walking, rocking, and then on the chair, and then unfortunately on the bed. What goes through your mind if you recall the whole process? What is God for you? How do you understand why did he go through all of that? Why does Avatar really go through all of that?
Very important question, brother. Rather, a very difficult question for all of us to face. So, Swami had given me this opportunity of being at his lotus feet and serving him in the Ajur Mandir from 2008 till the very end. And even a few of us, Swami had permitted us to be with him in the ICU in the super specialty hospital nearing his Mahasamadhi. One thing I can say, see, one important question that crops up is that Bhagavan is God. So why is he going through all this physical pain and suffering? And just a few minutes back, we that through that experience of that sports meet, we were discussing how Swami takes on the karma of millions and millions of people, and God knows what all he's taken on his physical body and saved so many millions and millions of people from their karmic consequences. And he suffered all that very, very silently and very selflessly. And but one thing, irrespective of how Swami was physically, that that mark of divinity, he is Bhagwan Baba, that never ever changed. Never ever changed. He was supreme, he was beyond all this, and he was that till his physical last moments on earth. And he will continue to be that. He is changeless. When Swami says that, he is actually changeless. Even Swami was walking, or even when Swami was in the wheelchair, it was always like Swami used to always think of, it's his life was selflessness, period. Nothing more to describe it. Always thinking about students, devotees, organizations, colleges, hospitals, endless. And during those last few years, how Parthi Yatra used to come, devotees from districts and states used to come from across the country, world used to come as Parthi Yatra, and Swami used to sit there in spite of his physical discomfort for hours on end, and looking at those their programs, presentations, and blessing them with photos and blessing them with dress material. And he never tired. He never tired at all. He was giving and giving. And he never changed, irrespective of how physically feeble he was. He was, he is, and he was Bhagwan Baba, period. He was beyond everything. So let me I'll take the liberty of sharing this experience with all of you. So this was, after March 28th. So March 28th, 2011, Bhagwan was shifted from Yajur Mandir to the super specialty hospital. And then he underwent surgery, heart surgery. And a few of us brothers who were in Yajur Mandir, we were with him in the hospital, uh, just trying to help out and make sure basic things were taken care of. Of course, the doctors and other elders, they were there and they were managing everything. And whatever little that we could, we were at his by his side and trying to do things that Swami had taught us. And that day, March 28th, Swami was moved in an ambulance from the Ajur Mandir to the Prashant Super Speciality Hospital. And we all accompanied Swami in the ambulance. And then Swami was wheeled into the operation theater. And after the heart surgery, and after some time, when his anesthesia was slowly wearing off, Swami, then he was wheeled into the CCU. And then we were all there waiting to receive Swami in the CCU. Swami, it was very difficult to see Swami in a stretcher. But then physically, Swami just, he just went through the emotions. He was completely unaffected. Why I say this is because as soon as Swami was wheeled into the CCU, one of the very eminent doctors from AIMS, New Delhi, he was there. He had come down from New Delhi, and then he was a Teluguite, and then he asked Swami. Swami was still lying. He had just come out of the OT, and he was in the stretcher and on the stretcher, and he asked Swami, Swami, chala noppiga unda. Swami, are you experiencing a lot of pain? It was actually a rhetoric question. It was yes, because anybody who's just been shifted out or moved out of the operation theater, with all that drips and multiple, just the surgery has been done, it's been cut and the surgery has happened and everything. Physically, it's a torture, no doubt. So when he asked that question, the reply that Bhagwan gave. He told, నాకు ఏమి నొప్పి లేదు బంగారు, నేను ఆనందంగా ఉన్నాను. Bangaru, I have no pain at all. I am blissful. Is it just possible for a human being to say that? When he's just come out of an operation theater with all that physical pain and discomfort, is it even imaginable that anybody would say that I have no pain in Anandanganon, I am blissful? Swami, Bhagwan was Bhagwan. Bhagwan, yes, and he will ever be Bhagwan. No, but I mean, because he was beyond body consciousness. He was just beyond all that. He was beyond all that. So that, you see, that is such a very powerful lesson, irrespective whatever happens to the body. He was always in his divine consciousness. That is such a major lesson when all of us we are struggling, mired in this body consciousness. That is such an eye opener for all of us. How to stay focused when Swami says, "I am God, I am Atma." What does he mean by that? This is a demonstration. Never, ever there's a change in him. He is always that. So this is a very poignant experience, but a very, very powerful experience for all of us.
I would say that, this body is yours. You're
Absolutely.
mine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He would say that, he had no concern for his body. And Swami has told so many times to the students and all the devotees, elders around him, that this body has come for all of you. It is your duty to take care of this body. He was completely unconcerned about his body. Completely. And that is the even more difficult part of how we had to pray physically, and also, I mean, inside and pray, and physically also try to convince Swami to undergo some kind of a treatment or something for this body. But Swami would never relent, because he was not concerned about the body. Instead, that time he wanted to see how he could help somebody else, how he could reach out to devotees, students, or how to improve the hospitals or the colleges. Every single second of his life was a saga of selfless love, nothing else.
I believe in the last few days we used to have bhajans being played for him.
Yes, brother, in the CCU, those few days, when the entire in the world, the devotees of Swami, they were going through the emotional roller coaster ride. So it was such a difficult time for all of us. And Swami used to spend some time listening to bhajans, and one of the brothers there, he was a very good singer. He was working in the super specialty hospital. He was blessed to sing in the CCU for Bhagwan, of course, making sure that uh, duly sanitized and all that. Those precautions were very strictly observed. And then this happened, and
Radio
uh,
Sai was on.
Radio Sai was being played, and it just Swami, you see, Swami had actually prepared all of us. He had slowly cut off, he had reduced his darshans. Some days he would not come, and slowly he weaned us away from that attachment to his physical form. And and in spite of all that, it was such a big shock for all of us. And still we all of us continue to miss that beautiful form. That's irreplaceable, no doubt.
I remember in 80s our music brothers had created a CD for Swami, because Brother Radhakrishna mentioned it seems that when Swami is on a drive, long drives, he has nothing good to listen to and he wants that. So these
Mm.
boys took it on themselves and recorded in the hostel music room.
Okay.
And then those just cassette used to be made. And I'm sure Sai Surendranath sir or somebody must be having still those initial few cassettes. And they were prepared only for Bhagwan to listen. And he used to listen it on and on, again and again. Because he preferred students' bhajan than anything else. And I'm now listening from you that the same student bhajan he left even in the last moments of physical sojourn.
True. True.
So that's how he gave importance to bhajans, and really beautiful. As we say, we can't even think of him without his will. So he has blessed us
Absolutely.
for that beautiful moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother.
How do you, like after 2011 you left and your journey has taken off professionally different, how do you relate to Bhagwan now, post 2011?
It was it was a very difficult period for all of us, and me included. After having been given the opportunity of physically serving Bhagwan, and after having received so much love and affection from him, it was a very devastating experience. And of course, for personal reasons, my mom was in Chennai, and so I had to go back. So I moved out of Puttaparthi in November 2011 to be with my mom there in Chennai. And one thing I can, to me, Bhagwan is the ever loving and forgiving divine mother and father. So for me, now now that I'm married and I see I have two children of about 5 to 6 years age, and when I'm going through the woes and the concerns of a parent, and how when I'm experiencing myself firsthand the selfless love a parent has for his or her child, and then it strikes me that this physical love that we have for our children, compared to that, what was the quantum of Bhagwan's love for all of us? He had the love of 10,000 mothers. 10,000 mothers. And Swami say, if you cannot understand the love of one mother, how will you understand the love of 10,000 mothers? So for me, every day when I am dealing with my children, I immediately, my mind goes back to saying, oh, how my divine mother poured her love on me. So that is anything that happens, immediately the mind goes back to what happened in Swami's presence, or what Swami is told about a few things. Those things immediately come back to mind, and there is a recollection of his divine glory and his divine love. And it's said in the Upanishads that Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanamesham, only by his grace can you think of him, not otherwise. And therefore, I am most grateful to Bhagwan that he has given us this opportunity of having lived with him and having learned so many lessons at his feet. Every minute spent later on is just a recapitulation and rumination of the life, the years and minutes spent at his divine feet, and the lessons learned. It's always that constant remembrance of Swami and his love and his teachings, and realizing the depth. Back then, we were students, yes, we had that love, but only now, slowly, as years pass by, we are like slowly beginning to understand the depth of his love. See, Bhagwan's love, I always imagine it to be like the ocean. Bhagwan's our physically our love for our children, it's deep, no doubt, but Bhagwan's love is expansive, so vast, like the ocean that it covers. His love is envelops the entire creation, and along with that all pervasive love, all expanding love, the depth, the depth of the ocean of his love is also so great and unfathomable. And just like the salt doll that goes into the ocean to explore and plumb the depths of the ocean, to figure out how deep the ocean is, and in the process it just dissolves into the ocean. That's how we are. And then when we try to experience the divine love, when we recall and experience the divine love of Bhagwan for all of us, we go back and we are completely saturated in his love. And like I mentioned in the last week, how one Swami told that Sai Baba Marchipoyavra, you've forgotten Sai Baba. So I make sure that I don't forget Sai Baba, not physically as in the physical frame of Swami, but what Swami stood for: selfless love, selfless love for everybody. So that's what Swami is and Swami will be. I always
Brother,
try to
Brother
make sure that
Karthik
I
is Brother Karthik is
recall that.
prompting me to ask you that do you have any kind of interactive experience with Bhagwan post 2011?
Not really. For whatever reason, Swami never bestowed me with dreams or visions. he's he's the physically he's blessed me with so many opportunities at the mental level, and in the dreams and all that he's been very very sparing. he's he's like told, I've given enough of what I have to give now. Ruminate, and I've given enough of it. So that's how it is. But
I
one
remember
thing
he
I
had
can say,
yeah,
one thing I can
please.
say, at the right time, he would give that guidance in whatever form. It could be a dream from one of my friends. Suddenly he calls me up after years and says, "Brother, I got a dream of Swami, and you were also there in the dream. This what happened." And that time and that juncture, I'm actually going through something very important. Immediately I get that assurance, yes, this is good. And everything that happens, so it's like self effort, like we put in the best efforts in the right direction as per Swami's teachings, and then leave it to him, and then he decides what is good for us. But inevitably I've seen at the end of it, there's always an indication from Swami. See, chudra nene ichanu, that kind of a thing that comes up, like very very, you're going for something very important, and then suddenly unexpectedly on some auto somewhere you see Swami's photo there, and he's like, don't worry, I'm there. These kind of small things, per se it looks very small, but at that juncture it means a lot. It means a lot, and that's how Swami has been guiding me, and I pray that he does that throughout.
I remember talking to you once, and you had mentioned the lesson of "I'm yours, you're mine." Do you
Yes.
recall that?
Yes, brother.
You want to say that?
Yes, yes. It's a very interesting thing. See, when it is said that we have to follow Bhagwan's teachings, it is not just at concept level. It's something much more deeper. We have to actually understand, assimilate it, and apply it in our lives, and like not just parrot it out. As Swami always used to say, that you should dharma is supposed to be followed in action, not just spoken about. So similarly, when we are leading a life that we want to be imbued with Swami's teachings, it is not just parroting out those words, but actually living that and applying that in every moment of our life. So back then, I was so very naive. So it was one of those days. Bhagwan had given his divine discourse outside in Prashant Nilayam, in the mandir, in his usual place. And at the end of during the discourse, he mentioned, how he spoke about Advaitam, and then there is, and Swami mentioned, "You are God, I am God, you and I are one." That the complete the supreme concept principle of Advaita. Swami mentioned that, and after that, Swami took Aarti, and then Swami went into the interview room, and I was also called into the interview room, and then Swami there, he spent some time with a few of us, and then for a moment I was alone with Swami. Then Swami lovingly looked at me and told, uh, "You are mine and I am yours." So very lovingly and affectionately he told that kind of a benediction that he gave. No, I know I should have been thrilled at that kind of those words from his divine mouth. But see, this monkey mind immediately steps in. So immediately my mind was thinking, just a few minutes back outside in the divine discourse, in the public discourse, Swami mentioned that you are God, I am God, you and I are one. But here Swami was telling me that you are mine and I am yours. So this is Dvaita, but Swami was speaking of Advaita there outside. So this immediately this mind is monkey mind is working, trying to reconcile these two contrary statements. And then Swami went inside for something, then came out in less than a minute. Even as he came out, he looked at me. Again, we both were alone. He looked at me and told, "You're not mine, I am not yours. You and I are one." So that was a slap on my face, because just how Swami quickly reads our thoughts, how Swami very quickly reads our thoughts. So when Swami said that, that that was such a tight slap on my face, that do you think I don't know that? Do you think I don't know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are? So then Swami mentioned that, and then so that was such a very important lesson. And then I realized, see, it is Swami says just too much of learning leads to indigestion, overloads. Swami uses that word indigestion, too much of concepts. But rather than that, even to apply one such principle of Swami, one of Swami's teachings in our lives, that would give us more fulfillment, rather than just physically and at a mental level trying to just parrot out. So that was such a great lesson that Swami drove home that day, that it's not, there's no point parroting out that you and I are one, because I had no, I was just still at the primary school level in spirituality, and Swami was trying to teach me, Dvaitam first, and then slowly take me to Advaitam, and I was foolishly trying to quote Swami's teachings to him back. So I had the audacity to do that, and immediately, so it was such a tight slap that I got, like, that yes, that is true, but have you reached that level of realizing that you and I are one? That was the question that Swami left with me that day.
It's so beautiful, you know. That's why many times people would ask that, apparently Swami said something which is contrary to what he said before. So people see contradictions in his statements many times, but actually there are no contradictions in his statements or in his
Absolutely,
actions.
absolutely,
It's
absolutely,
only the spot of time and the growth we are, he refers to that. So if you really look at it from holistic perspective, then you will see the flow of his statements.
absolutely. At
So
once, he is catering to people on the spiritual path, right, who are right in the beginning stage, and I would call it, analogically, primary school stage, and he is at the same time addressing and responding to thoughts and prayers of people at the highest level of spiritual evolution. At once, he is like catering to so many people, and but for each and every one of them, that particular lesson is for them, and then they have to apply it. So one cannot blindly apply it across. So that's another thing.
Sudhindran, brother, I always, I little shy away in acknowledging him because I feel I'm too small to acknowledge Bhagwan, and we are no way competent enough, to
Absolutely,
quantify him as God or whatever. But
absolutely,
his persona is very fascinating, and I can't help but, trying to dig people and myself to explore more and more facets of Bhagwan, to get a more better, like, a more closer look at him, to feel him. So with that, I would ask you, what is Sai Baba for you now? How do you understand this phenomena called Satya Sai Baba? This love incarnate walked on 2 feet.
very, very deep question. It's like I recall in my mind that analogy of how, four blind men, they are trying to touch and feel the elephant, and each one is coming up with his or her own interpretation of what an elephant is. But the elephant is some of all that and much more, and that's the case with Bhagwan as well. During his physical sojourn, avataric mission on earth, he's touched lives of millions and transformed them. Some of it we are not even aware of, and some of the people, in very, very remote regions, and they have not even physically seen Swami once, but Swami has impacted them in so many lives from the experiences that we read. I would always uh, consider Bhagwan as a very very loving mother. And see, that's the beauty of a mother, no? Because in case we make any mistakes, mother is forgiving, and we make lots and lots of mistakes, knowingly and unknowingly in our lives. And that's when So I always love Swami as the divine mother. So let me share this very very important experience, very powerful experience that Swami bestowed me with. It happened in Trai Vrindavan, I think, during the summer of 1999. See, a few of us were there. Swami had come downstairs in Trai Vrindavan, Trai, his residence, and he was about to go out to give his afternoon darshan. But before that, he came and he sat on the jhula, and then a few of us we were out, around Swami when we were doing part seva, and there are a few elders also there, and they were also Swami was discussing with all of them. Suddenly, in the midst of that, Swami looked at me and asked, "Will you give me whatever I ask for?" So this came out of the blue suddenly. But I told, "Yes, Swami, I will give." And Swami again looked at me intently and said, "Are you sure? Will you give me anything that I ask for?" So I told, "Yes, Swami." And then Swami stretched his hand towards me, and then he asked, "Will you give me your life?" So without hesitating, spontaneously, because we don't even know, we just know that if Swami asks, we just give it. We don't even realize what we are doing. So when Swami asked, "Will you give me your life?" and he stretched out his palm towards me and asked me, "Will you give me your life?" I was about to take my palm and keep it on Swami's palm and say, "Yes, Swami." But even before I could do that, Swami withdrew his hand and told, "Who are you to give your life to me? Your life is already in my hands." Swami, it was such a very, very, very powerful sentence that, who are you to give your life to me? Your life is already in my hands. No, so who are we? I mean, we think that we are doing this, we are doing that, we are doing so much seva for Swami, blah blah, and all that. But ultimately, it's like we are not doing anything at all. We are just in Swami's hands, and Swami is the one who is very lovingly taking across, taking us across this life of joy and sorrow, and making sure that we safely reach the other end of the ocean. That is that is such a very powerful statement, and it is such a very big divine assurance that come what may, we don't have to fear. And this sentence is not just meant for me, but for each and every one of us, because all of us, once we come to Swami and Swami says, "Once you will tell me that I am yours, then forever you're mine." So for all of us who have come to Swami's fold, and at whatever level of spiritual evolution we may be, one very great comforting factor, the assurance that we have, is that we are all very, very safely in His divine hands. We don't have to worry about anything at all. And He will make sure that He will take care of us, and then He will, give us the ultimate boon of mergence, that is lotus feet. So that is the great lesson, that we don't have to, these are difficult times, the pandemic and so many other factors at play, and each one and every one of us are going through ups and downs. But one thing we may remember, we have to do is do the best and leave the rest to God. And if we are sincere in following Swami's teachings and applying it in our daily lives, and we pray wholeheartedly, "Swami, I offer everything that I know that I have done at your lotus feet. Please take care of me." He does. And without fail, He does take care of us. And if we are in Swami's hands, what can touch us? What can touch us? I mean, is there anything that can defy Swami and Swami's protection? I don't think so. So that's the comfort and assurance
How do you
all we
see the
have.
impact on your children?
One very great benefit is that unlike me, my children had the benefit of knowing about Swami. Of course, the blessings of being in his divine presence was something they did not have. But yes, at very small instances, I find that Swami's love and protection and guidance is there. And sometimes this is so very unconsciously seeped into their minds that I sometimes I don't even expect that kind of an answer sometimes when they when they speak. And that is the divine gift that Bhagwan has bestowed on them. And I'm sure Swami will take them. Even if I were to fail my children, Bhagwan will not fail them. Of that I'm sure.
So you're already consciously passing on the burden to him.
Absolutely. So he is there, and when his divine assurance is there, I'm nothing to worry about.
So nice. Well, Sudhindran, I can't thank you enough for these 3 weeks of divine nectar that you have shared with us. And I'm sure each and every participant who has watched live and who is watching the videos, they would be feeling it, the same love and affection of Bhagwan. And you have helped us to go a little closer to him, have a little glimpse of him once more, remind us of those golden, blessed moments with Lord,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely,
recreate that magic of the divine persona.
absolutely.
I have literally no words to express my gratitude to Bhagwan, and thank you so much. And I thank
Thank you
all the
so much.
viewers for their interactiveness, their patience, and sharing their thoughts and questions. I'm grateful. Any final words, Brother Surinder, before we close?
Well, I can only pray that Bhagwan holds us by our hand and takes us across this, the Durga Suktam. It's it is Jata Vedase Sunava Maso Mamarati Yato Nidahati Vedaha Sanaf Parshadati Durga Nivishwa Nave Vasundhum Durita Jagnihi. So Goddess Durga is, out of her kindness, she is like the boat that takes us across the Nave Vasanthum Durita Techni, takes us across this tumultuous ocean of samsara, takes us safely across this samsara sagara to the other end, and being at emergence at his lotus feet. So this is one prayer that I always have to Swami, to take us all, hold us by our hand, and just like a boat, take us all safely across these stormy seas of samsara, and give us the ultimate boon of emergence at his feet. And in the process of the journey, we only pray that we are, however small we may be, we have the blessing of taking part in his divine mission, and being an instrument of his divine love. So this is what I have as a prayer to Bhagwan, to take us all safely across all these difficulties and sorrow.
Thank you so much. I'm sure during these challenging times, these satsangs and these memories are really great help. So thank you, Brother Sundar, once again. Really, really grateful to Bhagwan for these wonderful blessings and shower of choices blessings on all of us. Thank you so much. And Sai
Thank you
Ram to
so much.
everybody.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Sai Ram.